Princess Anne has always been the royal family's steady force, the one everyone quietly counts on when things get complicated. While other royals have faced public controversies, stepped away from duties, or found themselves dominating tabloid headlines, Anne has simply kept moving forward. Year after year, she has carried out more than 400 royal engagements, attending hospitals, military ceremonies, charity events, and community visits without ever trying to turn it into a publicity campaign. She has never seemed interested in attention. She just shows up and gets the job done. That dedication is exactly why she has earned so much respect across Britain. Her reputation was not built overnight. It took decades of consistency, discipline, and hard work. So when reports began circulating that Anne had done something that surprised even people close to the palace, it immediately caught attention in a way few royal stories can. After all, Anne is not known for dramatic moves or unexpected headlines. And that is what makes this situation so fascinating. Before diving into the latest developments, it is important to understand who Anne really is. Many people underestimate just how much she has contributed to the monarchy. She has been carrying out royal duties since her teenage years and has spent most of her life serving the crown. In 1976, she made history by competing in the Montreal Olympics as an equestrian, becoming the first British royal to compete at that level. Then there was the shocking kidnapping attempt in 1974. According to widely repeated accounts, Anne famously refused to cooperate with her attacker and responded with the unforgettable words, "Not bloody likely." That moment became part of royal history and perfectly reflected the determination people have come to associate with her. Her personal life reflected that same practical attitude. When raising her children, Zara and Peter, Anne chose not to seek royal titles for them because she wanted them to experience a more normal life away from constant royal expectations. Over the years, she has supported hundreds of charitable organizations and causes, often working behind the scenes without asking for praise or recognition. She simply focused on the responsibility in front of her. Her relationship with King Charles is another key part of the story. Unlike many royal sibling relationships that can become distant over time, theirs has remained remarkably strong. Growing up only 2 years apart, Charles and Anne shared experiences that few people could understand. While their parents traveled extensively on royal duties, the two siblings often leaned on each other for support. As the years passed, that connection only grew stronger. When Charles became king, he awarded Anne the historic position of Gold Stick in Waiting, a role dating back centuries that was originally responsible for protecting the monarch during major events. The appointment carried symbolic weight. It was Charles publicly demonstrating how much trust he places in his sister. Those close to royal circles have long suggested that Anne is one of the few people willing to speak honestly to the king, even when the advice may not be what he wants to hear. Charles reportedly values that honesty. Their affection for one another is often visible during public appearances, and Anne's nickname for her brother, Old Bean, gives people a rare glimpse into their genuine family bond. With all of that in mind, imagine the reaction when word spread that Anne had been involved in something completely unexpected, something that reportedly did not appear on any public schedule and was not announced through normal palace channels. According to reports from individuals familiar with palace operations, King Charles requested a private meeting with Anne. This was not the type of gathering that appears on official calendars or comes with carefully prepared media statements. In fact, reports suggested that staff members were cleared from nearby corridors and that the usual layers of palace communication were noticeably absent. That detail immediately sparked curiosity because the royal household operates with extraordinary precision. Royal schedules are carefully organized, public appearances are planned well in advance, and even routine meetings often involve extensive preparation. An unscheduled private audience under those circumstances naturally attracted attention. People said to have been present around the palace described Charles as looking exhausted but determined. There is an important difference between those two things. Exhaustion can come from the pressures of leadership and ongoing health challenges. Determination, however, suggests someone who has already reached a difficult decision and is prepared to move forward with it. According to one account, the atmosphere surrounding the meeting felt resolute. The difficult debates had apparently already happened. What remained was action. Whatever Charles intended to discuss, he reportedly approached it with a clear sense of purpose. And quietly connected to all of this is a man who rarely attracts headlines despite spending decades around the royal family. Sir Timothy Lawrence, Anne's husband, has maintained an unusually low profile throughout his life. Born in 1955, he built a distinguished naval career, graduated from Durham University, and developed a reputation as someone who was disciplined, reliable, and highly professional. During the 1980s, Lawrence served as an equerry to Queen Elizabeth II, placing him close to the daily workings of the royal household. It was during that period that he and Anne became acquainted. At the time, Anne's first marriage to Captain Mark Phillips was coming to an end, and media attention surrounding her personal life was intense. Lawrence reportedly stood out because of his calm and steady nature. The couple married in December 1992 during a modest ceremony at Crathie Kirk near Balmoral in Scotland. There was none of the grand spectacle often associated with royal weddings. Instead, it was a private and meaningful occasion focused on the couple themselves. Unlike many individuals who marry into royal circles, Lawrence received no princely title and no major official position. He simply became Anne's husband and quietly supported her work for decades without seeking attention for himself. Recently, however, something changed that royal watchers found especially significant. King Charles elevated Lawrence from Knight Commander to Knight Grand Cross of the Royal Victorian Order. Within that honor system, it is the highest rank available. What makes the Royal Victorian Order unique is that it represents the monarch's personal recognition. It is not determined by politicians, committees, or government recommendations. It comes directly from the sovereign. That makes every appointment particularly meaningful. Those who hold the rank include Queen Camilla, Catherine, Princess of Wales, and the Duchess of Edinburgh. Lawrence now joining that group sent a clear signal to many observers. It suggested that Charles wanted to publicly recognize his contribution and service in a highly visible way. The timing of the honor has fueled even more discussion. Combined with the other developments unfolding within the royal family, many people believe the promotion carried a deeper message. Exactly what that message means remains a topic of intense speculation. One thing is certain: the monarchy is operating with a much smaller working team than it once had. King Charles continues balancing his constitutional responsibilities while managing health challenges. Catherine, Princess of Wales, stepped back from duties during her recovery period. Prince Harry no longer serves as a working royal. Prince Andrew's official responsibilities were removed following years of controversy and public scrutiny. As a result, a relatively small group of senior royals now carries much of the institution's workload. Among them, Princess Anne remains one of the most active and dependable figures. In 2023 alone, she reportedly carried out 457 engagements, an astonishing number that exceeded even the king's official total. That level of commitment is remarkable. It also means that any unusual development involving Anne immediately attracts attention within royal circles. The monarchy depends heavily on her experience, consistency, and stability. Losing even a portion of that contribution would create challenges for the institution. Which brings the story to Edinburgh Castle and a departure that reportedly caught many people by surprise. Anne had maintained a long-standing connection to the location. It formed part of her working routine and represented a place where she had spent years carrying out royal responsibilities. Because of that history, reports of her leaving generated a strong emotional response among some of the staff members who had worked closely with her over the years. Individuals familiar with the atmosphere described farewells that felt deeply personal rather than simply professional. There were reportedly emotional conversations, heartfelt goodbyes, and moments that reflected just how much Anne's presence had meant to those around her. For many staff members, she had become a constant figure in their daily working lives. They knew her routines, her standards, and her approach to royal service. Seeing that chapter come to an end was not viewed as just another administrative transition. It felt like the closing of an era, and for some, that realization was genuinely emotional. What makes Anne's absence especially noticeable is that the impact goes far beyond emotions. It is being felt in the day-to-day operation of royal life itself. Wherever Anne worked, she brought structure, discipline, and reliability. Staff members knew exactly what was expected. Events followed a smooth rhythm. Problems were handled quickly and quietly before they had a chance to become bigger issues. That kind of consistency is incredibly valuable, and when it suddenly disappears, people notice almost immediately. According to those familiar with palace operations, Anne's presence created a sense of stability that many relied upon. Without that familiar support system nearby, King Charles is reportedly navigating a very different environment. Adjusting to change is not something large institutions do easily, especially one as tradition-focused as the monarchy. Even small shifts can create ripple effects behind the scenes, and this is anything but a small shift. Adding another layer to the story is the long-discussed relationship between Anne and Queen Camilla. This is one of those royal dynamics that has quietly attracted attention for years. Anne has never publicly criticized Camilla. That simply is not her style. She is known for discipline, professionalism, and keeping personal feelings private. Still, royal insiders and commentators have often suggested that while there is mutual respect, there has never been an especially warm personal bond between them. When you look at Anne's history, that observation becomes easier to understand. She witnessed the breakdown of Charles and Diana's marriage from a front-row seat. She saw the public pressure, the media frenzy, and the enormous impact it had on the royal family. While Anne and Diana were not necessarily known for being extremely close friends, Anne reportedly respected Diana's commitment to public service, her charitable work, and her ability to connect with people from all walks of life. As events unfolded and Camilla gradually became a more visible figure within the royal family, Anne fulfilled her duties exactly as expected. She supported official engagements, followed protocol, and publicly respected the decisions that had been made. But following protocol and forming a close personal friendship are two very different things. Reports over the years have suggested that there was at least one private discussion behind palace walls where Anne expressed concerns about the responsibilities attached to senior royal roles. By most accounts, the conversation was not personal or hostile. Instead, it was framed around principles and expectations. The issue reportedly centered on what someone holding the position of queen consort should contribute through public service. Anne's view was said to be straightforward. In her eyes, titles come with obligations, and those obligations should be visible through consistent effort, dedication, and long-term commitment. It was not about personalities, it was about standards. To be fair, Camilla has faced challenges that few people would willingly choose. Her journey into the royal family came with years of public scrutiny and criticism. Many members of the public had already formed strong opinions about her long before she officially stepped into her current role. Those perceptions were shaped by one of the most closely watched royal stories in modern history. Since becoming queen consort, Camilla has taken on numerous engagements, supported charitable causes, and worked to strengthen public confidence in her role. Many observers acknowledge that she has made significant efforts to contribute positively to the monarchy and its public responsibilities. Yet from Anne's perspective, effort alone may not be enough to build a lasting legacy. Anne has spent more than 5 decades carrying out royal duties. She has accumulated years of service, thousands of engagements, and a reputation built through relentless consistency. Camilla, by comparison, is still writing that chapter of her story. In Anne's world, trust and credibility are earned gradually over many years, not granted automatically because of a title. What makes this situation particularly fascinating is that it may have less to do with personal disagreements and more to do with completely different views of what royal life should represent. Anne's entire approach has always centered on duty first. She has long embodied the belief that being royal is a responsibility, not a privilege. In her view, service comes before recognition, and work matters more than image. Camilla arrived through a very different path. Her story was shaped by personal relationships, public controversy, and decades of intense media attention. Naturally, those experiences can lead to different perspectives and priorities. Two people can support the same institution while viewing their roles through very different lenses. And standing between those perspectives is King Charles himself. Charles shares an exceptionally close bond with Anne. He trusts her judgment and values her honesty. At the same time, he has spent decades standing beside Camilla through criticism, challenges, and public scrutiny. Both relationships matter deeply to him. Balancing those loyalties is not always simple, and people within royal circles understand just how delicate that position can be. Viewed through that lens, the recent honor awarded to Sir Timothy Lawrence becomes even more intriguing. Some royal observers see it as more than a routine recognition. They believe it may have been Charles' way of acknowledging Anne's household, showing appreciation for her years of support, and quietly reinforcing the importance of her family within the broader royal structure. The monarchy has always communicated through symbolism. It often says important things without saying them directly. Honors, appointments, seating arrangements, appearances, and titles can all carry meaning for those who understand the institution's language. Sometimes a gesture speaks louder than a public statement ever could. Another moment that caught attention came through the BBC documentary released in late 2023, which followed Charles and Camilla during the year of the coronation. The program gave viewers an unusually personal glimpse into royal life. Audiences saw moments of laughter, rehearsals, and interactions with staff that are normally hidden from public view. For once, the royals appeared less like symbols and more like ordinary people navigating extraordinary circumstances. Anne appeared briefly in the documentary and shared reflections on her mother's funeral. One particular comment stood out. She described the moment when the crown was removed from Queen Elizabeth II's coffin as bringing her a sense of relief. That single word carried enormous weight. Anne is not known for discussing emotions publicly. She rarely offers personal insights and almost never speaks in ways that invite sympathy. For her to describe feeling relief suggested just how much responsibility and pressure she had been carrying for years behind closed doors. In many ways, that is the deeper story running underneath everything else. Anne has spent virtually her entire adult life carrying burdens that most people never see. She has supported the monarchy through transitions, controversies, celebrations, losses, and major historical moments. Through all of it, she has maintained the same work ethic and determination that made her one of the most respected members of the royal family. But even the strongest people eventually reach moments when circumstances begin to change. Those who closely follow the monarchy have increasingly noticed signs that Anne may be entering a new chapter. At 74 years old, she continues maintaining a workload that would challenge people decades younger. Yet the private meeting with Charles, the growing attention surrounding Timothy Lawrence, the discussions about Camilla, and the emotional farewell connected to Edinburgh all seem connected by a larger theme. Individually, each event might seem minor. Together, however, they paint a picture of a royal figure standing at an important crossroads. For decades, Anne has been one of the monarchy's most dependable pillars. Now, many observers are beginning to wonder whether the role she has carried for so long may finally be evolving into something very different. Taken separately, these developments may not seem extraordinary. But when you step back and look at them together, they begin to form a much bigger picture. Piece by piece, a story is emerging that has many royal watchers paying close attention. Something appears to be shifting inside the royal family, and whether she intended it or not, Princess Anne finds herself right at the center of that conversation. What makes Anne's position especially fascinating is that her entire reputation has been built on one thing above all else: consistency. For decades, she has been the royal who simply showed up and did the work. No drama, no constant headlines, no endless attempts to shape public opinion. She carried out her duties and let her actions speak for themselves. That is exactly why even the smallest change in her behavior attracts attention. If another royal suddenly altered their routine, people might barely notice. But with Anne, it feels different. Every move is examined because she is known for being so predictable and dependable. The departure from Edinburgh raised eyebrows because those closest to the situation reportedly felt it happened faster than expected. The private meeting with King Charles sparked discussion because people familiar with palace traditions understood how unusual it appeared. None of these actions were dramatic. In fact, that is what makes them so powerful. Anne rarely operates through grand gestures. Her signals tend to be subtle, measured, and deliberate. When someone like her makes a move that seems out of character, people naturally start asking questions. At the same time, there is a much larger issue hanging over everything. The monarchy itself is navigating one of the most challenging periods in recent memory. King Charles is leading the institution while managing ongoing health concerns. The number of working royals has been significantly reduced. Public confidence has experienced periods of uncertainty, and the family continues adapting to a rapidly changing world. In that environment, the individuals who remain fully committed to public service are more important than ever. They are not simply helpful members of the institution. In many ways, they are holding key parts of it together. Anne understands that reality better than almost anyone. She has witnessed the monarchy evolve through multiple generations, crises, and periods of intense public scrutiny. By all accounts, her concerns are not about change itself. She knows that every institution must adapt if it hopes to survive. The real question, from her perspective, appears to be whether those changes are being made for the right reasons. Reports and commentary surrounding the palace suggest that Anne's focus has always been on preserving the values that give the monarchy its credibility. She reportedly wants to know whether those stepping into larger public roles fully understand the responsibility attached to those positions. She wants to know whether standards are being maintained or quietly lowered. Most importantly, she wants to know whether public trust is being protected rather than treated as something that can be taken for granted. For Anne, these concerns are deeply personal because she has lived through periods when public confidence in the monarchy was seriously damaged. She remembers the challenges of the 1990s, a decade that brought intense scrutiny and significant reputational difficulties for the royal family. She witnessed firsthand how quickly public goodwill can disappear and how difficult it can be to rebuild. While others worked through speeches, media strategies, and public campaigns, Anne's approach remained remarkably simple. She kept showing up. She attended engagements. She supported charities. She represented the crown day after day without demanding attention for herself. That steady commitment became part of the rebuilding process. Because of that experience, many believe Anne's instincts carry considerable weight. If she feels concerned about the future direction of the institution, that concern is rooted in decades of first-hand experience rather than personal preference. She has seen what works. She has seen what fails. And she has spent most of her life trying to strengthen the monarchy through service rather than publicity. That is why discussions surrounding Camilla need to be viewed through a broader lens. This is not about revisiting old controversies or holding on to personal disagreements from the past. The issue, as many observers see it, is whether everyone within the institution is being held to the same expectations that Anne has placed on herself for more than 50 years. That approach is classic Anne. She does not hold press conferences. She does not air concerns publicly. She does not attempt to win arguments through headlines. Instead, she reportedly raises issues directly with the people involved and then returns to work. It is a quiet style of leadership, but one that has defined her entire royal career. King Charles, meanwhile, appears to be balancing a complicated set of responsibilities. He understands family tensions better than most people ever could. He has lived through some of the most public royal challenges in modern history. At the same time, he is building a reign that reflects both his personal values and the partnership he shares with Queen Camilla. Finding balance between those priorities is not easy. It requires maintaining relationships, protecting the institution, and managing expectations from every direction. That is one reason why the recent honor awarded to Sir Timothy Lawrence continues attracting attention. Some commentators believe it was more than recognition for personal service. They see it as a gesture of appreciation toward Anne and her household, a way of acknowledging decades of loyalty that have often gone unnoticed by the wider public. Because loyalty on that level comes with sacrifices. Anne has remained committed through scandals, controversies, leadership transitions, family disputes, and periods when others might have chosen to step back. She carried responsibilities that many people would have found exhausting. Yet she rarely complained and almost never sought sympathy. Over time, that kind of dedication demands a tremendous amount from a person. Perhaps that is why even subtle changes involving Anne attract so much attention today. People understand that she is not someone who acts impulsively. If circumstances around her begin shifting, there is usually a reason. If her role appears to be evolving, it is worth paying attention. What Britain may be witnessing right now is not a retirement story or a farewell story. It is something more nuanced. It is the story of a woman who dedicated her life to service, carefully considering what the next chapter of that service should look like. Anne is not walking away from her responsibilities. Nothing about her history suggests that. She remains one of the hardest-working members of the royal family. But she does appear to be asking important questions about the future, about priorities, and about the direction of an institution she has spent her entire life supporting. What do you think about Princess Anne's role inside the royal family? Is she still the monarchy's strongest source of stability, or is a major transition quietly unfolding behind palace walls? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more royal stories, hidden details, and the latest updates. Thanks for watching.